All right, time for another DraftPhysics.com, debatephysics.com also, but no fair or reasonable debates possible because humans are apparently, by a vast majority, lying sacks of shit, incapable of having a rational conversation about anything. They're all a bunch of agenda driven, myopic drones of some cause or bandwagon. And that's all. It's just groupthink all over the fucking place. And most of the groups are some kind of religious wooey crap. And that's all. That's it. They have no integrity, no honesty, no capacity to do anything called logic and reasoning. And this Dave guy, just a perfect example of the turds, doing the talking head bullshit and fooling the lazy dupes who really don't have time. They're too busy watching sports and eating their McDonald's, to scrutinize any of this horse shit that these idiots come up with. So anyway, sad state of affairs, really. Sad, sad world. Oh, I should have written some sort of crap. Maybe I'll write some crap now. All right, back. It's taking an old political line. It's the momentum, stupid. Yeah, right. It's the economy, stupid. So anyway, so we're going to do the subject of energy and kinetic energy, they call it, right? And so that's the second way they use the word kinetic. Kinetic means 1/2 mv squared, and kinetic means, I don't know, motion you can see. So instead of circular motion or back and forth motion, this kind of motion is somehow kinetic energy, and any of the stored types are called potential. But they clearly state that somehow the object that can be made to move by a force is somehow has the potential when it doesn't have nothing. Okay, the boat sitting on the shore of the river doesn't have any potential energy. It doesn't have anything. There's no condition it's in until you shove it in the frickin' river. And so he says you can put energy into an object. So there's no potential energy put in the object when you rise it in gravity. It has no energy. It has to be pushed by the force. The force has to hit it and give it a momentum. Want to know how? No, you don't need Henry Potter's wand. Just lift it up above your head. So there we go again. It's just somehow I gave it energy by lifting it above my head. I gave it nothing. All right, I changed its condition in the universe, and yes, if I let it go, it will go downstream in the river. It will collect energy from the river. It's like throwing something into the wind, okay? It doesn't have any potential until I let it go. Okay. By doing so, you bestow the object with more potential energy. So it's just wrong. It's bestowed with nothing. Learn more about energy and motion and energy and the location in this clip. Yeah, so again, just more nonsense. They really don't understand any of the elemental physics. Got it all wrong. Okay, and obviously wrong. It does not take 25 times the fuel to spin something 5 times as fast. It doesn't happen. All right.
It's Professor Dave. I want to tell you about kinetic and potential energy.
He knows a lot about the science stuff. Professor Dave explains.
Self-serving, right? He knows a lot.
We now understand
says him. Just like so, you just griped about the highest IQ guy who everybody listens to for some reason. When there's not really any proof that he's got a high IQ. So it's just talk. Yeah, and him knowing a lot of this science stuff, just talk really. All he's done is memorize some crap and knows how to use Wikipedia. Oh, and I did notice his tattoo. It looks like it's some sort of gravitational lensing art or something. It's got a big object and then a small object and the lines going on both sides. So, wonder what that's about.
More rigorous scientific definition of the word energy as being the capacity to do work.
So again, more crap, okay? It's energy is the capacity to Oh, that's right. Make something move. Movement is energy. Something moving in the universe, energy.
But as we said, there are a few different kinds of energy. So we must talk about.
There really aren't any different kinds. They're just in different objects. So there can be free energy. That's the force itself, the little bits, as Einstein would say, the energy quanta, okay, that make up, say, a photon. There's that energy, okay, which is elemental energy. It's stuff that never stops. And all you can do is you can stick it to matter and you can make matter move. Electrons and protons is the only thing you can stick it to, by the way. Okay, you can make them move. All right, and that's it. There's just free force and then force stuck to matter that causes movement. So the matter moves slow, the force moves very fast.
All of these varieties. First, we will discuss kinetic energy and potential energy.
So again, more baby talk, okay? We know the word kinetic doesn't mean anything because when they want to use it to mean 1/2 mv squared, it means 1/2 mv squared, and when they want it to just mean motion, it just means motion, and momentum, it doesn't mean anything. They'll say that something that has momentum has kinetic energy, but it obviously doesn't. So they're two different formulas.
Energy is the energy an object possesses by virtue of its motion.
Yeah, so we know that's the definition of momentum. So again, this doesn't mean anything. Something with momentum, something with potential momentum would be a better way to say it. I mean, you could put something, a boat has potential momentum in the sense that, yes, you can make it move. You can put gasoline in the engine and, fire it up.
If we recall Newton's second law, we know that the application of some net.
So we know that's a lie. So that's not Newton's second law. Newton didn't write that. Newton didn't think that. So that's not how Newton understood it. He understood force equals essentially the change in your momentum. So if your momentum changes, the force done it, and the force is equal to the change in your momentum. That's Newton's physics, and these people just keep lying about Isaac Newton and what he said and what he believed.
Force will move an object with some mass at some constant acceleration.
So again, this baby talk about something moving at a constant acceleration. Forces don't, all of the other forces don't act that way. So again, it's just absolute nonsense. And yes, gravity is a constant force within a range of space. It's a constant, fairly consistent, okay? But it's not to any number of decimal places. Every inch, there's a little bit more or less gravity.
We also know that work is equal to force times distance.
No, we don't know that, okay? That's just something, again, you assert, and there's just no evidence that distance has a damn thing to do with it, okay? Because it really depends on surfaces, how they're constructed, what happens. So if we do it in space, we go twice the velocity, well, we'll go twice the distance, okay? There's not going to be any correlation, anything that even looks like twice the distance, or 4 times the distance. So the whole equation is garbage, okay? It's really force times time is really all that matters. It's really pressure and time. How much force, that is pressure, and how long can you sustain that pressure? And in most cases, with instantaneous things, that means a bowling ball, it doesn't have a constant force. So each time it interacts with something, it loses some of its momentum. And so each interaction, it loses more and more of its momentum. It has less energy to give, and it gives less energy. Fact.
So if we account for the distance traveled by this object, we get that W equals FD equals MAD, or simply W equals MAD.
So it doesn't. So it's just nonsense. Its distance is irrelevant. It's just a circumstantial event, and it really has to do about how you take energy away from something. And if you do it sensibly, like I said, in space, then this isn't a problem. Twice the velocity or even twice the acceleration, okay, you're not going to get any extra distance beyond the fact that you've doubled your velocity, so you're going to double the amount of distance you can travel at that new velocity. But that's it. That's the relationship.
We also know of this kinematic equation for an object experiencing constant acceleration. If we solve for AD, we get this expression, which can be plugged into the above equation for work.
Right, and that's where they get 1/2 mv squared. There we go. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Nonsense. Okay, it's just not true. There's no v squared. No v squared. So they've converted acceleration into a velocity squared, which it's not. And certainly in, for example, gravity, you get 2 units of force. You don't get 4 units of force. You didn't do 4 units of work. Gravity didn't do 4 units of work in 2 units of time. It only does 2 units of work. Fact, absolute fact, that these deluded kooks will not counter with anything called a piece of reasonable evidence. They will never show it taking 25 times the fuel to spin something 5 times as fast. That's what that equation says. It's 25 times the work to make something spin 5 times as fast. That's what the equation says. No, it's not true.
After some simplification, we arrive here, thus deriving the work-energy theorem.
Yeah, which is absolute nonsense. It's never right. It violates Newton's third law all over the place. Anytime you're converting energy, like is 99% of the real time in actual conversions between objects, they aren't of the same mass. So every time it's an uneven mass, it's going to be you're not going to conserve the kinetic energy. It's going to violate the third law. It's going to violate all the laws in the sense they're all conservation laws.
This term, 1/2 mass times velocity squared, represents the kinetic energy of a system.
So it's nonsense, and it's never about anything called a system. So again, it's just absolute nonsense. It's the kinetic energy of an object. You will tell me it's a train going down a track. Okay, it has a mass and a velocity. You're going to square the velocity and tell me that this train has 4 times the energy if it's going twice as fast. That's what you're going to say. So don't pretend it's about some kind of system. It's about objects you claim have all this energy. You say the bullet has 2,000 joules of do work energy, and the gun's recoil is only 2 joules of do work energy. That's your claim, and yet you have no physical evidence, and the ballistic pendulum is overtly telling you you can't even conserve the momentum, the tiny little momentum number. You can't even collect that in your ballistic pendulum. And you're 99.94% short of conserving the kinetic energy. And yet you continue to lie, frankly. It's just a lie.
So now we can express the work-energy theorem by saying that when an external force does work on a system, the amount of work will be equal to the change in kinetic energy.
So we know that's just not true. Okay, just as a fact, it's not true. Train going twice as fast does twice the work. 3 times as fast, 3 times the work. 4 times as fast, 4 times the work. Not 16, 5 times as fast, not 25 times the work. It doesn't happen. It's not true. It's a big, fat, stupid, ignorant fable. Okay, it's just as bad as believing in a holy ghost. It's just as bad as flat earth physics. There's no evidence supporting the theory. No evidence. Zero. 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 No experimental evidence demonstrates this crap to be true.
Of the system. If W is positive, the system increases its kinetic energy, and the change will be equal to the work done.
Right, so you made extra energy, made free energy. What a pile of crap.
On the system. If W is negative, the system decreases its kinetic energy.
And what happened to it? Oh, it deformiated. It's a soundy thing. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, where is it all? Where is the 99.94% of the kinetic energy in the ballistic pendulum case? Where is it? Did you stick a thermometer in there and find 2,000 joules of heat? No, you didn't even bother doing that experiment.
And this change will represent the work that is done by the system. Note the presence of mass in the kinetic energy expression.
It's just so funny. Yes, notice that the existence of momentum in the expression. That momentum is the core of the expression. And you have these erroneous bullshit things. This 1/2 in front, which is meaningless. It was only in the case of gravity, because, in gravity in 1 second, you don't go 9.8 meters. You only go 4.9 meters instead. Okay, and that's why the half is there. And the v squared is just Leibnizian nonsense. Okay, it just isn't true. Leibniz says 4 pounds dropped 1 foot is the same energy as 1 pound dropped 4 feet, and they never did the experiment, ever. And it's the same thing as saying, again, that 5 times the velocity is 25 times the work. And it's not. It's just nonsense. You can't make more energy by just turning the nozzle on a hose and increasing the velocity of the water molecules. It doesn't frickin' happen.
This means that if two objects with different masses are moving at the same velocity, the more massive object will necessarily have more kinetic.
Oh, hilarious. We know that that's the small part of that formula, right? That it's not about the mass, it's about the velocity. So again, just point out the bowling ball example. Their formula says the 8-pound ball going 16 miles an hour has twice the energy of a 16-pound ball going 8 miles an hour. Yet every professional bowler in the history of professional bowling uses a 16-pound ball. They use the heaviest ball possible. Why is that? When, all they have to do is do a little more of that velocity thing, and they gain such a benefit. They gain so much more energy. And if they can throw the 8-pound ball twice as fast, that's all, just twice as fast, they'll get twice the energy, twice the capacity to shatter those fucking pins. Is that true? No, because the ball can only transfer momentum. So again, we're back to the ballistic pendulum. I can't use this crap called kinetic energy. It can't do any work. It won't do any work on the pins. The kinetic energy is meaningless. It didn't land us on the frickin' moon. It doesn't move things in space. I mean, it's an unevidenced, dogmatic pile of religious crap. And here this fucking atheist, this proud person to defend that fables shouldn't rule our lives, here he is preaching it. What a duplicitous hypocrite. Religious kook, heal thyself. Professor Kook.
Energy. Now let's discuss potential energy, which is
his baby talk, okay? So there's lots of ways you can have a circumstance where something can do something you would call energetic, okay? So you could take the simple example of, yes, you compress matter into a smaller space, and the charges, the plus and the minuses and all the north-south relationship, you could understand that I could take a bunch of north poles and south poles and I can put them very close together if I arrange them correctly. And if I don't, if I cause any chaos, they'll fly apart, they'll expand. So that expansion is energy. Okay, so you can make something expand in the sense of the size of space it takes up. So hydrogen and oxygen, they mix together and create some sort of intense expansion. And the intense expansion is basically you're taking a little round oxygen molecule and you're putting these two hydrogen sticks on it. They're basically paddles. All right, and so any spinning that the oxygen molecule does, the spinning will be now amplified because now it has these little sticks on it, the hydrogen. And so that just creates agitation, and more agitation, more agitation. The more the more energy, the more stimulation you put in, it causes the chain reaction, which is basically to cause a bunch of things to get hit into the oxygen, the hydrogen, and to stick.
Intertwined with kinetic energy. Potential energy is the energy an object possesses by virtue of its position in a field.
So we know that's just crap because there's all kinds of different potential energy. So we know that there's potential in a spring. It doesn't have anything to do with this position argument. We know that, dynamite, there's lots of different kinds of potential energy. So this narrow definition doesn't mean anything. This is a gravitational definition, and that's all. It doesn't cover anything in the real world. More baby talk.
Whether that is a gravitational field, an electromagnetic field, or any other type of field.
Yeah, whatever that means. So they're all the same thing. It's all a force field. It's field of force. And the force can be dot, 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 it can have a pattern. And when it has a pattern, we call it a photon. When it has another kind of pattern, we call it magnetism. And that's all it is, though. But it's all the same force. The same force going the same speed of light creates gravity, electricity, magnetism. It's all created by the same thing. Charge, especially. As I've demonstrated with my simulation. Go look for the video called Simulation.
If you lift a ball up into the air, you are increasing its gravitational potential energy.
Right, so you're not doing any of that, right? It has not. That's like saying I moved the boat upstream, on the Mississippi River. Oh, I gave it more potential or something. No, I didn't. So they're just talking about how much time you're going to be allowed to flow in the stream. So obviously when we lift something in gravity, we're lifting it from the dam. So the river has a dam, okay, that you're not allowed to go over. And you can sit there and measure how far from the dam is the boat and how much speed can it collect in the river until it reaches the dam. You can do it that way, but it's idiotic. It's not the potential. It's not the anything. The boat merely collects energy from the stream. The fact is, any object falling in gravity is collecting momentum from the force. It doesn't have any energy. It doesn't have anything. It's collecting it from the stream. Without the stream, it's got nothing. Without time in the stream, it has to be in the stream. It has to be freely flowing in the stream to collect energy from the stream. There's no pull, gravity.
As it moves farther away from the ground. If you release the ball, that potential energy is converted.
So there's no conversion. It's merely collecting the differential in the force. So as the ball's falling, more stuff is hitting it from the top than it's hitting it from the bottom, and the stuff is just gaining more and more stuff is sticking to it because there's more flow. So just like the river example, the flowing river, more water's hitting it from one side than it's hitting it from the other side, and it goes down the stream.
Into the kinetic energy of motion as it falls. The closer an object is to the center of gravity of the Earth, the less potential energy it has.
And right, we know it can't collect any potential energy any further than that because it can't get through the Earth. So there's something that's going to stop it. So it's just bullshit to say it has potential energy sitting on the surface of the Earth. Why would we say something like that? Because it's unrealizable potential.
And as you pull it up and away from the ground, it gains potential energy because it has an increasing potential to fall some distance.
Or yeah, some distance, some amount of time. It has the potential to flow in the stream an amount of time, and it's 9.8 meters per 1 second. It's a time-dependent force. You collect it in units of fucking time. They shouldn't teach anything else. It's obvious. I mean, Newton said it. And Galileo said it. It's a time-dependent force.
Distance to the ground. It may seem strange to bestow an object with more energy just by lifting it into the air. But
yeah, it's idiotic to say it has the energy when it hasn't collected it yet. It obviously has to collect it before it has the energy. You have to compress the spring before you say the spring has potential energy. Even when I didn't compress it. That's idiotic.
remember that we have to eliminate our prior conceptions of the word energy in favor of more rigorous definitions.
Oh, no, they're not rigorous. They're bullshit. They're unevidenced, dogmatic, religious nonsense. They're flat earth, made up, silly, stupid, idiotic, contrived piles of nonsense. You liar.
The potential energy of a compressed spring or an arrow ready to be released.
Right. So why don't we just say the spring has potential energy before we compress it? Because it could compress it. It's the same difference. See, it doesn't make any sense. It has the potential to be a spring. Well, big deal. It's just idiotic.
From a bow is where the kinetic energy of motion comes from. It is like a kind of stored energy.
Yes, stored energy is the only kind of thing to talk about, is the fact that you can store energy by compressing little things and then having them expand, okay, to a more natural condition. So you can arrange them so they don't hate each other, and then you can introduce one little bit of hate and the whole thing falls apart. I don't know a good example for the nuclear expansion part because it is a little complicated. But the rest of the things are kind of obvious. You store energy by doing this, creating two walls, and the energy has to bounce back and forth. Even if I compress a spring and I hold it, you can feel the fact that you're storing the energy. You can feel the fact that you have to constantly apply the pressure, and it's constantly stressed. So if I replace my fingers with a piece of steel, we can know they're doing the same thing. The steel is being stressed. It's not doing work, so to speak. It is, in a way, doing work, and there's action happening inside the steel. So it really is circular. You're converting the pressure into an electrical thing that's going through the steel constantly. Constantly, the steel is aware that it's holding something against pressure.
In this course, we will frequently be discussing gravitational potential energy for...
All right, so MGH won't get you a right answer, especially if something's already moving, where MGT always gets the right answer. So MGT always works. It always tells you the truth. So a speeding meteor comes into Earth at 10,000 miles an hour. It's in the Earth's strong gravity for 1.3 seconds. It only gets 9.8 meters of extra velocity, 9.8 meters per second of extra velocity. So it's going 10,000, 9.8. when it hits the Earth. So gravity does nothing because the amount of time is nothing. The height is huge. It traveled a huge distance through the gravity, but it doesn't matter because the distance didn't decide how much gravity it collected. The time decides how much gravity it collects. So again, just obviously wrong. Obviously not an answer. The formula that is complete and is usable in all circumstances is MGT. That's the one that always works. This is what only works in one special circumstance where you actually place something in gravity and then let it go. It only works there. And it's not really working because, frankly, you're looking at the wrong thing. It's about the fucking time.
Object.
Obviously, where the ground is will decide how much time it's going to be able to fall. But what is deciding how much energy it has? The time in the gravity.
On Earth. And for any object, this will be equal to the mass of the object in kilograms times the free fall acceleration due to gravity for the Earth times the height of the object in meters.
So, and it just doesn't work in all cases. It's only the special case where you place an object in a location. It can't have any velocity to get there. It has to stop at a location.
The greater the height, the greater the potential energy.
The greater the height, the greater the time it will take to fall. And the more time, the more gravity you collect, because gravity is a time-dependent force. 9.8 meters per second per 1 second. It's per 1 second per 1 second. No second squared.
As this represents the work that can be done by gravity to produce the motion of a falling object. There is also elastic potential energy, such as with the spring or the bow and arrow. And we will discuss this later as well.
So again, to call it elastic potential energy, again, it's just to cheat the argument. It's all just potential energy in the sense that you have some sort of device that has been compressed. It's been stored. It has to be stored in either some kind of chemical reaction that compressed things or some other thing where you took stuff that was this big and you made it this big. So you made it more stable and then you made it less stable. That kind of thing. You made it quieter versus noisier or something. I don't know. That's probably not the best way to say it. You really have to understand charge to understand. All you have to do is understand magnets. And you can understand that you can place magnets all in a condition where they're north-south, 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 north-south. And all I have to do is flip one of the magnets on the interior and all the other magnets start rejecting each other and flying all over the place. The whole thing flies apart because it's the order that makes it possible for it to occupy less space. So in a sense, the order has negated the energy. But probably a better example is just the size thing. The size of something, how much space it's taking up, is basically telling you from gravity that all the energy going in from this much space ends up being pushed on the atoms on the center. So all the energy goes right towards the center. So you ended up with it's essentially an energy magnifier. It's taking all the energy that would have gone through this whole hunk of space that, say, the Earth occupies. All the energy that would have traveled through that space is now pushing on the center of the Earth. And that's why it burns.
For now, we just need to understand kinetic energy as the energy of motion, and potential energy.
So again, just a nonsense statement, the energy of motion. I mean, motion is mv explicitly, and that's certainly Newton's physics. So they just lie to say this has something to do with Newton. That Newton believed in this nonsense. It didn't. He wouldn't have written the third law if he believed in mv squared.
As the energy of location. Let's check comprehension.
Bullshit. Just absolute nonsense. See what his comprehension quiz is. 50 moves with a velocity of 11 meters, an event occurs whereby it transfers joules of energy to another object as work. What is the velocity of the object after the event? So this will not get you a right answer, because he's going to conserve the kinetic energy and he's not going to conserve the momentum, and it won't happen that way. The momentum will have to be conserved. So this is just the bowling ball example. It's just a lie. The bowling ball does not, in fact, have twice the energy. The 8-pound ball versus the 16. It's just bullshit. All right. So just a big fat fucking fake physics. They didn't go test that. Test it. Show me the experiment where it came out that way. Because it doesn't. Because you have to conserve the momentum. Momentum always has to be conserved. Quoting Professor Lewin. Nature can deal with kinetic energy one way or the other, but nature can't finagle momentum. So just more bullshit. Alright, maybe we'll just do the one video, and I'll hit a couple of bullshit comments. I mean, they're just so bad and stupid. It's like, why bother? These people really are just too stupid for the... They're too dishonest for the conversation. Alright, mouse isn't working. Anyway, so the same guy, Woolly M2B, says two things, both stupid. So the first thing he says, he didn't convert newtons to joules. It was Newton meters. That's what a joule is Newton meters. Clearly, he took the Newton number and converted it into Newton meters, which is a joule. No doubt about it. 1 Newton meter is 1 joule. That's what he said. I mean, it's just, it's so stupid. I mean, you arrogant assholes say stuff and you're just wrong. I mean, you're just really, really fucking wrong. Okay, see if I can get my mouse to work good enough. It needs a recharge. Oh, come on, you can do it, mouse. You can do it. Almost. Very good. Yeah, we'll just remove it for now, but we really do want to just block this asshole. All right, so this argument's just so fucking stupid. Naomi Boyd made a good point that you completely missed. No, there was no good point. It was completely inane nonsense. It doesn't matter how much time it takes to stop something or decelerate it distance-wise. It has nothing to do with anything, because I can change that in every single circumstance just by making something heavier or making something thicker. I mean, you go through atmosphere versus you go through water. It's the same energy. You can't have a different amount of energy because you went through water and went a different distance than there is energy when you go through air and you go a greater distance. Distance doesn't have anything to do with how much energy it was, because the force that you're fighting is different in both cases. So it's absolutely a useless thing to say, oh, I can absolutely use distance. No, you can't. All right. Fuck you. So you already conceded that a 1 pound bowling ball going 8 miles per hour. When did I say 1 pound? Will take the same time to stop as an 8 pound bowling ball going 1 mile an hour. When did I say any of that? When did I say that? I never said that. Liar. Okay, if the same force is used to stop them. So what does that even mean, the same force? They can't give the same force. When the one going twice as fast hits something, right? 1 pound bowling ball going 8. It's going 8 times as fast, for fuck's sake. 8 times as fast means it has to have like 80 times more energy. You know, that's more than 5 times as fast, right? 5 is 25. So if 5 is 25, 8 has got to be close to 85. It's 85 times more energy by your stupid moronic theory. And the momentum says, no, it's exactly the same thing. And the momentum will prove itself, because when you hit the first pin going 8 miles an hour, the first pin gets 8 miles an hour. So it's 3 pounds for the pin, let's say, and 8 miles an hour. So you got 16. 3 times 8 is 24. You got 24 momentums. The ball loses 24 momentum. All right, and the other one, when it hits, it's only going 1 mile an hour. It only gives the pin 3 units of momentum. And so it can hit a lot more pins, giving away 3. So again, you're just so full of shit. All right, please take a moment to think about how far they will travel. So again, more nonsense. It's bowling pins. There's no place to travel. They're all going to use up their energy pretty quickly, knocking down the pins. And again, I can make friction that way. I can make friction so it consumes all the energy in 3 feet. But if you're going fast, obviously you can't dispose of the energy as efficiently as friction proves. Okay, you even must understand that the time is the same. The ball is going 8 times faster against the force. So again, it's just a lie that it consumes the force much, much faster. So again, with the bowling pin argument, you can understand the faster ball will give away more energy early in the collision. And it's going to lose a great deal of energy and start going very slow, very fast, where the heavier ball will keep going. Which means the 1 pound ball has 8 times the energy. I mean, it's not kinetic energy, okay? So you can't say it has 8 times the energy, right? Because that's momentum, you dumb fuck. So you just contradicted your own horseshit. 1/2 mv squared means the ball going 8 miles an hour. It's a squared velocity, you idiot. So this idiot can't even do the kinetic energy formula. I'll read that last sentence again. The ball going 8 times faster will travel 8 times further against the force, which means the 1 pound ball has 8 times the energy. It'll travel 64 times further, or whatever the fuck it is. Jesus, you're so fucking stupid by your theory. Oh, god damn. If it was regular friction, that would be the truth, because obviously when it's going 8 times faster, it's 8 times less friction per square foot, for linear foot. For linear inch, let's just say, it's 8 times less energy going into the ground. Oh, God, you're such lying sacks of absolute shit. All right, we'll give him one more chance. If you can't come up with something, I mean, you're not even close to being accurate or truthful. I've asked you for evidence, okay? So yeah, let me just say, if you can't provide a link to evidence in your fucking argument, then fuck you. I'll just block you, okay? Because this is about your evidence. Where's your evidence? It takes 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast. Show me a grain of evidence indicating that bullshit is true. All right, what is this guy? The CNN of science reporting? What are you? The Fox News of moronic comments? Fuck you in the ass till thoroughly dead. God damn. So we'll block that fucker. Useless tripe. Nobody can make commentary. No. Nobody should do that. Nobody should complain about anything. Nobody should try to fix anything. It's just amazing. Fucking assholes. Do hate this planet. Alright, well, fuck this mouse. And fuck this. Okay, the end of the video. Yeah, till the next time. You're all lying scum. I mean, it really takes no effort at all just to concede. Yeah, I get it. 25 times the fuel to go 5 times as fast sounds completely nonsensical. It really can't be the truth. So they got to fix their theory because something's wrong with it because that don't happen. And the fact that, yeah, we know that NASA said they use Newtonian mechanics to land on the moon. So come on, let's get real. Momentum lands on the moon. Momentum calculations land you on the moon. Momentum is thrust. Thrust is calculated based on its momentum, not its kinetic energy, because there is no equal and opposite kinetic energy reaction. You can know that to be the truth and be able to say, yeah, I get it. This physics needs to be fixed because it's saying things that just aren't fucking goddamn true. The 8-pound bowling ball does not have twice the energy.